if you have any questions.
Great, gritty win for us. This was a huge weekend at home. To bounce back after the Stanford loss and not feeling like we performed well and just kind of got manhandled in the Bay Area. To come back here, play a really good, underrated Oregon State team that's big. We're talking 6'8" inside, good players, coached well. And then to play another really big team in Oregon. These are two really good wins. This is a huge sweep for our program.
And those games against these big players, how do you think it wore on Kate?
Well, I think it wore. I think she had a tough time tonight, but I love the fact she missed shots. I think it's normal, like as a player, when you have a 6'8" player. I don't know why. I think players in general are scared to get their shots blocked. I'm like, if she's 6'8", she should block your shot. But I don't think that's the mentality. I think you tend to alter shots. You hesitate at the rim. So I think, Kate and Ismail are so good mobile. They can attack players facing up. But I feel like it just alters your shots, and it's hard to play against. You don't practice ever against 6'8" people. You don't play against good players like that in practice. So I think it's just a different mentality. It's harder. I think you just think about it. But she stuck with it. She hit some big shots down the stretch. It wasn't her best game, but she didn't give up. She could have been less aggressive down the stretch. She wouldn't have hit some of those, and we need her to score inside. We had two post players. Maya wasn't playing, so we didn't have any other posts. So she stuck it out and found a way, so I'm proud of her. And she played 37 minutes, and then the second game of a weekend is tough.
Shaina, what does Madison's shooting ability bring to the flow of the offense?
It brings a lot. It spreads the defense. I think that's something that's really key for us. It helps players like me who like to penetrate and get to the rim a lot. So, it's great having somebody who can shoot that consistently on the floor with us. So, yeah.
Maddie, was that like a dream game for you?
I wouldn't say so. No, I just come in there and do what I'm supposed to do. So, it was a really tight game, and glad I performed, and my teammates were there for me, so we pulled it out.
But it had to feel good.
Well, it felt good, of course.
But she had a really good game against Stanford, too. So I think, people step up at the right times, and it's hard to play good against really good teams. I think especially she had sat for a long time, so I think what she did was more impressive because she was cold and having to come in and just produce and hit your shots right away. That's hard to do. It's hard to come in from the bench and hit like a three. It usually takes time to get into it, so I think she did a really good job of staying focused and bringing energy and scoring to our team when we needed it.
You've turned from just, a shooter. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, tell her about her layups. I want her to hear this. Because she used to hate taking layups in practice. Did you not?
Yeah, wide open layups.
No, but we have to work on them. Like, girls don't practice, women don't practice enough layups, but she's doing a great job of penetrating, right? Tell her that, please, more.
You should do that. But you've also turned into a really gritty player. You draw contact, whether it's the charge, whether it's the contact.
She's always
on
been
the
that.
three-point line. But it seems like there's more this at this moment in the last, I don't know how many games this season.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of doing what I'm supposed to do, going out there and bringing energy. Like, when you come off the bench, you're supposed to bring a spark, and I feel like I'm trying to do that in different ways, not just shooting the three, but that might be finding my teammates' shots or playing good defense, taking charges, or whatever it takes. But, yeah, I'm just in there to.
Well, I think if you look at her from this year and last year, I think she's more intentional about things. So everybody knows she can shoot. But I think that it comes from confidence. It's just like Shaina. Shaina hits the three. She's more confident to take the next or mid-range jumper. Maddie attacked the basket over some bigs, has some confidence. So as a shooter, you're going to have lanes to the basket. So I think the fact that she's doing it like intentionally to score, not to just get fouled, she's going to try to score. I think that's a big thing, and that's going to help her game. Because in the next time, they can't just do a full closeout and give you a lane. So I think that will help her game a lot. And taking charges, she does that a lot. But getting them, and she's been really smart about making sure her feet are outside of the circle and just getting there. And I think those were huge plays that really helped us. But she is playing tough. She always plays tough in practice. And I think just applying a different dimension to her game and just more versatility, which is important for her as her game grows.
Yeah, Oregon was only able to get to the free throw line 5 times tonight. Was there a specific strategy that you guys used in order to limit the amount of free throws?
Yeah, the strategy is don't foul so much. I think that, in some of that, I get it. Like, I'm a coach and I was a player. Like, you sometimes get momentum and calls at home, and that's the way it is because I was really ticked off. And I was on the other end of it at Stanford, and it was like 34 to 2 it was 28 to 2 at one time, ended up 34 to 9. Like, that sucks when you're the opposing team. But I think we were really aggressive. I thought that they took a lot of pull-ups. They don't really get to the rim as much except for India in transition. So we did a good job of not fouling. But I think some of that was we gave wide open layups, and they shot 53%, or it was in traffic. So I think we did a better job of being more disciplined. I think, we need Esmeri on the court more. She's one of our best rebounders, so she needs to stay out of foul trouble, especially when we have 2 posts. But I thought overall, when I'm asking Maddie to guard, Grace Van Sluten, I'm asking Helena and to guard a bigger player, that's hard. So I think they did a really good job of not getting in foul trouble when they're asked to do that. I mean, their guards having to guard a really talented freshman post. So I think we did a good job of being more disciplined.
This is your second game, 6 assists, no turnovers. I mean, what's different for you?
I mean, I'm just trying to be more patient and like not really force things as much. Yeah, I mean, we're playing against teams that not necessarily are really big on like pressuring as much. They play to our strengths. If you can't shoot, they're not going to guard you. So for me, my strengths, most teams don't want to guard me. But today I feel like I was making shots and I was able to make the right reads because of it, because now they had to guard me a little bit closer. So I was able to make the right passes, right reads, and yeah, I didn't have any turnovers, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, the most important stat for a point guard is assist to turnover ratio. If you look at Sue Bird, I played with her, known her for years. The first thing she looks at is assist to turnover as a point guard. How you can set up your teammates. I thought she was a very good floor general today. I thought she pushed the pace when she needed to. I thought she was intentional about pushing it early because that was one of our keys to the game. And then she got shooters the ball at the right time. I think it's important. I think if you looked at Shaina a couple years ago, she would have probably over-dribbled, looking for those gaps. But now she's kicking it faster. She's kicking it up. And I think that's growth as a point guard. So to have 6 assists and a big win like this and control the game and also defend full court for the entire game against 2 really good guards, I think she did a phenomenal job.
Coach, the team struggled from the free throw line this season. Coming into the night, good night tonight. I think Pellington, Connor, and Puello didn't miss. How much have you worked on free throws? Is it something you worked on in practice?
Well, it's hard because, someone's been shooting a free throw a certain way for 19 years. So you work on the repetition of it, but we're not changing free throw techniques in the game. We just shifted a couple things in Shaina, but Shaina's typically usually getting to the line. So she's driving, she's shooting most of the free throws. So when Shayna's making her free throws, typically, overall, we're making them. Because Jade, surprisingly, I think Jade it was kind of a fluke, because really good shooters usually don't struggle from the free throw line. So then I think it was Shayna, Jade, Kate, everybody. Kate's not usually 2 for 4. So I think overall, I think it's just the mental part and thinking about we're not doing it and we're working on it every day. I think it's just stepping up there with confidence. But now you're going to see Shayna shoot way better because she's confident now. And then her 3 was going. So I think when your 3's going, your shot's going, you're more confident at the free throw line. I think 70% of basketball is mental. So I think those are just psychological things. At practice, we try to do pressure free throws. We do like a free throw game every day, and then we do it before games where the opponent gets a certain amount of points after 90. So they get like 10 to our 1. So it's just pressure, but you don't simulate a game with 10,000 people. So that's hard. So that's just kind of the focus, concentration, and calming yourself down because it's nerve-wracking at the line, isn't it? Especially like it's stress on ESPN, stressful game if it's tied. Those are scary moments you can't replicate in practice. So they did a good job.
And the bench outscored Oregon 26-3 tonight, I think.
That's good, too. I like that, too. That was because Maddie had half of those. That's okay. Yeah. That was Maddie. And no.
Yeah, Gilbert had a good game, too, and Puello, of course. Did you talk about how you thought the bench?
I thought the bench was phenomenal. I thought Maddie was great. I think we don't win this game without her doing what she did. And I thought Kaylin gave us really good minutes in the first half. But as a freshman, tough situations down the stretch. The lack of experience and not knowing in certain situations, experience is a lot. And it matters down the stretch. So I think everybody that came in, as a coach, you want to play everybody. And you want to give everybody opportunities. But it's just the Pac-12, it's hard. Because you've seen in our conference, we were down 12 with 3 minutes on Friday, and we won. So if you're not up by 20, it's hard to play freshmen. They've never been in situations and still try to win games. And that's hard as a coach because you want to play everybody. But it's just not the reality.
Maddie, you've been playing a lot of positions this year, having to learn a lot. What's that been like, and what was it specifically like tonight?
It's definitely hard defensively, just trying to guard a bigger post player. But I feel offensively, we most of the time it's 4 out, 1 in, so I know the plays pretty well, so that wasn't a big transition. Inbounding the ball is probably the hardest thing on offense. I forget to do that every time. But besides that, it's just probably defense. I'm trapping instead of being the one that's getting hit by the screen. I'm the one that has to jump out and red, so just a little bit different of adjustments. But, it's been pretty easy so far.
Yeah, and that's why a couple times when we had Jade, because Jade playing the four, she never remembers to bring. That's why a couple times you saw they were like calling people over, like come inbound the ball. That was because Jade was like, oh yeah. It's hard to remember that, but it's also hard for us because if Maddie's not at the four, and sometimes I want her at the three because it spreads the defense if she's in the corner, but still at the four, it's good. But she knows the plays at the four. So it makes us, we can run more stuff. Jade, she's been in the system longer, so Jade doesn't know all the plays of the four, so we can't run. We can run like two things. So it's hard. I mean, but to win this game, to sweep this weekend without one of our posts that plays 15 minutes a game as a freshman, to have two posts and play small and then still hang in there rebounding, I mean, 15 offensive rebounds, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's a big win because we're shorthanded. It's a big win this weekend, big wins.
In these two games you had about, in the last minute, a total of about 7 out-of-bounds plays in the last minute, really high stress, and without making an error.
Yeah.
How often do you work on those in practice?
Well, you work on them. It's just so hard to. We do work on them. Like we have today at shoot around, we worked on just if we need a 2 late game, this is what we run. If we need a 3 late game, if it's 3 seconds or if it's 7 seconds, we work on those so we know what we're going to run. We put in another play recently so the returners know it, but all the new players don't, just if we get in this situation. And we did that intentionally, so I'm glad we did it because we didn't have that before. We simplified a lot of things this year because we have 7 new players. So it was just a little too complex and we weren't doing anything great. So we actually put in a new play for this weekend, and it's helped us because we've used it like 7 times. So we've used that little stack play when we know we're getting free throws to get the ball in who we want's hands to shoot the free throws. And so those things are experience. They give you more confidence next time you're in the situation. And so it's great to win these type of games. It's great to come back because then when you're on the road and you're in a situation, you know you've done it before, so you're more confident as a player. And that's what experience does.
Shaina and Maddie, coming off a win like Friday night where it's fast and furious for the last, 324 or whatever, and you come out with a win, which was really exciting. And I know you have to try to push that away because yesterday you had to, go into practice and think about Oregon. And then you come out and you play a game like tonight. What was that like for both of you to be able to I know Adia always says the game's over, you focus on the next game. But really, how were you able to do that and play such a tight game today and come out and win?
I mean, it just kind of goes you just kind of have to stay ready. Once one game is over, like Adia likes to say, we're on to the next. We're immediately focusing on the next team, looking at the next scout so we know what to do for the next day. So it's kind of you have to have short-term memory. Everything that happened before, you just kind of forget about it and you got to move on to the next one. That's how you kind of stay ready always so you're not not prepared. So I think we did a really good job of that this weekend. We were able to obviously win both games because of it. So.
I mean, exactly what Shaina said. The Oregon State game was a little tighter than we expected. So, just coming out there and, putting our foot on the gas and just going, full speed and not letting it get as tight as it did. It was a tight game. They're a good team, but kind of just trying to start strong from the beginning. So.
Well, and ideally as a coach, so you're playing Friday, Sunday. A lot of conferences have an extra day in between, so it's a grind. I think it helps us long-term for the Pac-12 tournament. It helps us for the NCAA tournament, or the NCAA, and just for the NCAA games. But I think ideally in a perfect world, you would play less minutes on a Friday. Because when you go to tight games, you're playing 8 people, maybe 9, which 7, 8 people. So if you can have people play 25 minutes. It's very hard to play 35 on Friday and then play 35 today. It's difficult, and they can tell you. And then do a walkthrough yesterday with shooting. I just think it's not easy. So in a perfect world, that's why it's when you have a partner school, you want that school to be good because you don't want to, when I first got to Arizona, Charlie always said to me, I remember this, we just need you to be good. And I remember being I'm trying, but it's true because you don't want to go, Stanford doesn't want, you'd only have to focus on Stanford. We don't want only teams to focus on us because then you can rest all your starters on Friday, or Saturday or Sunday. So I think, you want it to be hard coming into Arizona and playing Arizona State and us. So, it's ideal if you can rest people one day, but we found a way, and they all played a lot of minutes both games. That's hard. coming off of us. So we've had the hardest stretch in the conference by far, which I'm not happy about, obviously. After Christmas, so we're off the 3 or 4 days at Christmas. We come back. 3 days later, we play our rival, which isn't the Pac-12's fault. It's our fault because we couldn't find a date because we kind of decided on it as a league late. So we already had our schedules done. So played ASU on that Thursday. Then go to Stanford and, play Cal and Stanford. And on the third game in 5 days, play Stanford at Stanford. After they haven't had 3 games, that's hard. I'm not saying that's why we lost, but that's a factor. And then to come back on a short week again. So played Monday and now play again Sunday against 2 other good teams. It's not like a cupcake team. It's been a brutal 10 days. It's the 5 games in 10 days at the start of conference against good teams. And your rival, regardless of how good your rival is, it's like those are high emotion games. So I think this is a tough stretch to be successful like we are and go 4-1 in that stretch. That says a lot because it gets easier after this. Thank goodness. So.
And what does that?
I mean, easier as far as
Yeah.
the timing, not so many games. Not easier, but easier as far as not so many games, 3 games in a week after Christmas. And they ate like crap at Christmas, eating their mama's fudge and cookies and all. We all ate bad. So.
What does, we thought when you got to this point of the season, we were like, you had all these games. Now in the league, you would be able to say, this is what I learned about my team. What have you learned about your team? At this
They were
point?
resilient. I've learned that we have fight. So, because you're learning your team as you go through adversity. It's easy when you're winning. It's easy. It's everybody does well. I learned a lot about us after the Kansas game. The Kansas game it punched us all in the face and made us realize, ooh, we have a lot to work on. That's okay. That can happen. I think that game was good. I think if we don't lose that game, we don't have this much success at the beginning and we don't beat Baylor, I don't think. So I think that made us wake up. It made us focus on weakness points, and because they were exploited. And then we bounced back, showed some character against Baylor, played one of our best games. And then to go and beat Baylor there, it was basically like a home game for them. It was an hour away from Baylor, playing in Dallas. And so to have that win and play well, and then to focus and play UTSA right before Christmas, that's a tough game on the road. And then to come back here and have the 5 games in 10 days, that's a tough 2-week stretch. And so I think for us to have the success and lose 1 game in that stretch, so 7-1 in that stretch, it says a lot about us. And we've won in different ways. So we were able to come from a 12-point deficit 3 minutes against Oregon State. We were able to not give up and make some runs and get within, at Stanford, still had good and bad, and then come here, play pretty good games. Not perfect, but found a way against Oregon State and Oregon. 2 very good teams that are going to win in this conference. So, and now there's not as much pressure. We're going to the mountains. We're trying to go get a sweep. We're capable. They're good teams. But, to take care of home and steal them, at least split and steal some games on the road is ideal. That's what you want to do. So, yeah, thanks, guys.